Hi, my name is Jesse Sweed, and you're watching the Online Prosperity Show. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about why parenting is like bull riding, how I broke my jaw, how I went to jail, and the lessons I learned to become an effective parent leader. And I want to share that with you.
Hello there, lovely folks. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, where we deep dive into the stories and strategies of remarkable individuals that are actually making waves in their fields. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today, get ready to buckle up because we've got a guest who's not just a parenting guru, but he's also ridden bulls in the rodeo and survived a stint in a Korean jail. Now, you've heard me right. I don't know. People had to break him out just so we could have this episode with him. But the limelight is not for me. It is for my man. Jess, how are you doing, man?
What's up, Prosper? I love that name, by the way. I love that that's your real name, and that's amazing. And it's awesome to be here. I love your energy too.
Oh, great stuff. You see, with a name like that, I have to work hard, my man, because I can't be seen on the side of the road with a sign saying, hey, spare me $1. My name is Prosper. It will confuse people, and people are already confused anyway. But that's besides the point. You have had quite a journey, my man. From Pennsylvania to South Korea, where, I don't know, was that King Jong-un that put you in a jail cell? And now you're in Spain. Could you maybe share with our viewers a little bit about who you are and what actually led you to this whirlwind of an adventure?
Yeah, so thank you for that introduction. And I'm originally from Pennsylvania, a small town called Chadsford. And I visited, my time to South Korea started in 2006 when I visited Sevilla. I visited Spain here, and I visited a friend, a 2-week trip, and I saw him teaching English. And I was 25 years old. I didn't really have much going on. I was doing, construction work and really kind of didn't know what I was doing. And this thing of teaching abroad, teaching English, seeing him do it in the classroom, it changed my mind from something. And this is a big lesson here. When you get out and actually like see someone doing something, kind of flipped a switch and turned it from, oh, that's nice for him to do, that's cool for people who can do that sort of thing, to actually seeing him and thinking, I could do this, because it was the same thing, just in a different country, as teaching kids. So long story short, it was difficult for an American at the time to get a job here in Europe. But in South Korea, all I needed was a university degree and to be a native English speaker. I checked those boxes, and I already had some connection with South Korea because I had taken Tang Soo Do. It's a Korean martial art. Chuck Norris's martial art, actually. And so I had an idea with some of the language, some of the counting and things, and just I knew Korean people. So I ended up going to South Korea later that year in 2006, intending to stay for 1 or 2 years to end up getting experience to come here. I ended up staying 7 years until, as you said, I was no longer welcome. And then I landed here in Spain. So just continuing on focus. And that's another lesson too. When you have a focus, you get knocked down, you lose, you suffer a loss. A big thing that I help parents with is we deal with losses every day, and I view my days now as like, was this a win or a loss? This decision, this, event, something goes wrong. Did I handle that as a win, or did I handle that as a loss? And the more wins that we have throughout the day, the better our lives will be. And I carry that on to my kids as well. I'm like, that's a win. That's a kind of a family expression that we do, that I share with my parenting clients as well. An expression, a simple expression. That's a win. That's a win. And the thing about losses is losses can always be turned into wins. And that's what's important. So I continued teaching English here in Spain until I became a father, used my lessons through life, my own personal growth journey, my own experiences to manage this thing called parenting guilt, our own traumas, our own cycles of behavior, our own, triggers and guilt to overcome those. And I show other parents how to overcome their triggers and guilt and generational cycles as well.
Fantastic. What a journey, my man. What a journey. But I mean, obviously you've seen the world, from being in South Korea, trying to teach people English there until you're no longer welcome. And then Spain also, being in America there. I just was looking at all this and I was thinking, you're a glutton for punishment. Right?
I've heard that.
Yes, like who goes from bull riding to martial arts and now you're wrangling with children? It's all really a nice little weave of you just getting bashed.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. I mean, life has a way of kicking us around anyway, so I just kind of welcome it with open arms, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, the bull riding happened. That was before moving, before the construction. That was in 2003. It was my final year in college. I rode around a rodeo circuit riding bulls, and I actually ended up breaking my jaw. And you see, I look a little funny. That partly due to the bull riding, partly due to just, life. But yeah.
Fantastic. And the Bulls, were not strong enough. You went on and you still wanted to get a bit more of a beating with the martial arts. And obviously, there's a lot of lessons in between that. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, a lot of people would be looking at your journey and really reflecting on the first thing that you say, seeing someone do something really ignites a lot, in us, which now gives you the mandate to do the same for other people. So what have you then been doing that now creates that space where somebody would look at you and say, hey, because of you, I did not give up?
Yeah, that's so powerful because just like, it was thought that humans couldn't break a 4-minute mile, right? Until, was his name Eric Bannister? Jonathan Bannister? I know it's Bannister.
Roger Bannister.
Roger Bannister, that's it. Yeah, right. I knew a guy named Jonathan Bannister. That's what that was. But anyway, so yeah, until he did it. And then after he did it, people started doing it all the time. And it's just a matter of like breaking through and making something real to you. And that's something that's so powerful. So a big thing recently that I've been doing is showing parents that like they don't have to stay stuck in their daily situations. We can get stuck thinking about our daily situation, thinking about, what I call, victim speak. Why does this always happen? When will things finally change? And we get stuck in these cycles and think that there's no escape or hope that one day Superman will come and take us out. And sometimes it's just a matter of like one decision or one change of the mind. Like I've been working with a mother and she was able to break just with a simple shift in perspective, break almost a nightly routine and a nightly habit of blowing up at our kids for, things that we blow up at them for. And that caused her to view herself as a mother in a bad way, which caused more of this behavior and more of these triggers and more blowing up. And this happened almost on a nightly basis, she said, until, it was a simple perspective shift and it changed how she showed up as a mother. So a lot of the time it's just that, it's just a perspective shift and understanding like there is another side, the other side of this chasm that you feel like you're in.
I like that. And what you're actually saying, ties together with the whole concept of monkey see, monkey do, because your kids are going to be seeing exactly what it is that you're doing, and they're all gonna fall into those sort of footsteps. And yeah, maybe you can comment a little bit about that, because some parents don't realize that their actions and what they're doing, their kids are actually watching them and following through.
Oh, that's so true. There's an entrepreneur called Ed Milet, and I love what he says. He said, with kids, things are caught more than they're taught. And I love that. And I kind of steal it to tell it to my clients, but well, I don't steal it. I give credit like now. But they are watching. And here's the thing, they're watching us more than we're watching us. 80%, 90%, more than 90% of our behavior goes unnoticed by ourselves. And parents will often say, I know what I do. I know what I say to my kids. And we really don't. And that's really disingenuous of ourselves. But it's almost like it's not dishonest, because a lot of the time it's rooted in ignorance, because we don't see our own cycles, because, you know, we repeat. Have you ever blown up, or something has come out of your mouth and you're like, when did my father walk into the room? Or when did my mother show up? It's that sort of thing that these are these generational cycles and these generational habits that, unless we become intentional on spotting them and changing them and creating our own legacy and our own family culture that we want based on our terms, until we become intentional on that, it's not going to happen. And we will, turn into our mother, turn into our father, and continue the same patterns of behavior. Most of these are harmful.
And I quite like that, especially when people are coming from a whole different culture. There's that generational guilt that's passed on from grandfather to father or to mother, and then they just, pass it on to you because that's all they would have ever known at that particular sort of time. And it becomes a wild ride now that we know what we know and we've got access to the information that we do nowadays. How is it that you help parents to actually navigate, this roller coaster of guilt and really finding the joy in the journey? Because some people really would, yeah, like you said, you automatically realize, wait a minute, my dad just walked in. This is not who I am. This is not the person I am. But words are no longer yours once you've given them out, and you can't take back some of the things that they would have done to that kid.
Yeah, that's so powerful. That's so great. So, and it actually goes even deeper than it goes in our culture, where we're brought up, the local, well, they need to take control of their kids. They need to, who wears the pants in that family, and all of these sorts of things that these cliches that we're brought up with, like they need to control their kids. Kids need to show respect, and they need to be disciplined. And we're brought up depending on your culture, depending on your zone, depending on your area. And then there can be this pressure, this almost peer pressure, when we are out and our kids maybe are going through a tantrum or saying no or any of these. And it triggers us because we're worried about what other people in the restaurant or the supermarket are saying. And they'll say, you need to take control. Well, these people are not in control because their cycles are in control. And going back to your question, this is the ultimate question, right? How can we take control? And number one, there is so much power in just simply identifying these cycles, identifying the cycles that are in ourselves, identifying these, what I call raccoons. These are these thoughts that say, I'm not doing a good job. Raccoons, they come in and they root around in your trash at night when you're, sleeping or you're watching TV. And then you hear a noise out there in the trash and they make a mess. And the trash are these thoughts, these guilty feelings, I messed up again. Oh, I'm worthless. Oh, I'm such a horrible mother or so horrible father. Oh, I'm a loser. All of these thoughts, and the raccoons stir that mess up. And the thing is, what do we usually do when we get those thoughts? We turn the radio up louder. We maybe drink. We maybe go gambling or go find a woman or a man who will solve our problems or this. We usually distract ourselves from those raccoons. But the thing is, there's so much power in going out onto the porch, turning on the light, shining a flashlight out there, and the fear of those raccoons is stronger than and more dangerous than the raccoons themselves, because what happens when we shine a light on them? They'll look at us, they'll freeze, and then they'll scurry away. And there's so much power in that, in these destructive cycles and thoughts and habits, that if we just enter the fear zone and look and explore this. I have had this on my own. Like I have thoughts like, I'm such a loser. Why did I do that? And, do certain behaviors that are like, just they come out of my body. And this is when I'm by myself. I stop. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Let me stop. Let me slow down. And let me get into my body. And that's step number two. Number one, shine a flashlight on it. Investigate what is that? Ask yourself, what is that? And then get into my body. Where in my body am I feeling this? Usually I feel it in either my belly. Sometimes I'll feel it here. Sometimes I'll feel it in the back of my head. But somewhere in your body, you're feeling this pressure, this discomfort, this anxiety, this guilt, this whatever. Feel that in your body, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And then once you have that, then you can think about how you're going to get over this, whether it's journaling, whether it's talking to somebody, whether it's doing the thing that you're scared of saying, whether it's apologizing, whether it's making a decision to start going to the gym or start seeing help or whatever. Right. But it starts with identifying it, leaning into it, identifying it in your body, and then taking measures of what now.
I like that. And I think a lot of parents may not have gotten the memo when they took their last flight, because maybe the kids were screaming and they were trying to get them to be quiet, because the air hostesses, when you're in a plane, they always notify us to put the mask on first before we can then go on and help anybody else, because we're useless if we're also gasping for air. So this is exactly what you're sort of reflecting to, that you take good care of yourself so much that by the time anything shows up, you literally are there to either put a flashlight on it or just really face it with a calm demeanor, and that then gets transferred to the kids.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That illustration is beautiful, because it is that so many parents, and this goes again with the cultural cliches that we hear all the time. Everything I do is for my kids. I don't do anything for myself. I sacrifice so much, and parenting is a 24/7 job, and they get trapped in these cycles of communication in themselves. And yes, we sacrifice for our kids, of course. Yes, we want our kids to grow up and be more successful than we are. Yes, we do things for our kids. But if we're stuck in this almost like self-defeating, whipping, like punishing ourselves. Oh, everything I do is for my kids. Everything I do is for my kids. And they whip themselves in the name of everything I do with my kids. What we're actually doing is we're taking from ourselves, and I cannot give to my child what I don't have. So if I'm whipping myself and beating love out of myself, and I'm not appreciating my own love, what am I giving to my kids? We're giving to them from an empty vessel. So what are we giving? We're giving we're intending to everything I do is for my kids, but we're really giving them our triggers, our anger, our frustration, you know.
Mm. You see, I don't know. I'm gonna go somewhere with this, Jess, but some parents usually stick around in a relationship or in a job, like you're saying, because yes, it's for the kids, because little John has to go to college or things of that nature. And then, the outcome of all of this is when little John makes a mistake or does something that really, really frustrates the parent, because, well, little John doesn't have the memo that mom or dad is sticking around because of me. He's just thinking he's being a kid, and now the parents sort of lash out at the kid, and then there's that disconnect. But you've obviously found some sort of light out of a relationship sort of breakdown. Could you maybe walk us through how that was managed and you've managed it, and maybe that sort of pivotal moment, where it actually shifted your perspective and you emerged stronger, and now you're there to help others do the same?
Yeah. And whereas, like you said, little Johnny didn't get the memo. I would like to shift that actually, because there was this game called Telephone. I don't know if you guys had this. I'm sure you did when you were little. And that's where kindergarten kids or whatever, first grade, they sat around in a circle. One person whispers into another person's ear. They whisper that message into another ear, and they whisper down the line. It's called whisper down the lane, telephone, whatever, different
Yeah,
type.
we call it Chinese whispers.
What is it?
Chinese whispers.
And he's like, okay, there you go. And then by the time it reaches the last person, the message is completely different, right? And the message that little Johnny's getting is not the message that we are giving in
Mm.
that case. Whereas he doesn't get the memo that we are staying together for him, which to us it sounds noble. I'm staying together for the kids. No, to him, it's mommy and daddy are having problems and it's my fault.
Ooh,
That's the memo he's getting.
ooh,
And so we are divorced, and we were in a toxic relationship. There was underlying tension in the house all the time. And that's not a healthy place to be. And so many parents are in that way, and we're staying together for the kids. Whereas I say, no, we separated for the kids. We divorced for the kids. And we have our focus that, we want them to, we want them to thrive, as we all do. But we can't stay in that toxic cycle and expect them to thrive in that environment. We separated and divorced, and now we have a great friendship. We have a great co-parenting relationship because we're not trapped in that toxic cycle. I'm not saying divorce is for everybody, but I am saying it's for a lot more people than are accepting it.
Our
You
lives,
know,
yeah, our lives have completely changed lately. You know what I mean? Our phones literally know a great deal more than our spouses know about ourselves. So I can see what you're saying there, and how it would actually be better off than trying to mend something that hasn't been amicable for the both parties involved. Now, this now presents, a situation where co-parenting is now the focal thing. And when little Johnny goes to dad's on the weekend, he comes back all disheveled with whatever dad has been saying to him. Or when he goes to mom's, for the week or for the weekend, he comes back and he's a whole different kid in the way he eats and the way he operates, and that just sort of creates that sort of scenario right there. And you've sort of discovered how to co-parent with grace and dignity, especially after divorce. And I know that's not a small feat. What sort of advice would you give to those that are navigating similar waters?
yeah, great question. And that's a very common situation. And I do want to back up and say, like, when I say like we're in a great place and we have a great co-parenting relationship, I don't want it to be confused like where it's all sunshine and rainbows. And it didn't come easily. A lot of time we can see somebody's, point where they are now, and we didn't see the journey. So there were a lot of tears, there was a lot of struggle, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of self-loathing on my part and the mother's part, but I can't speak for her. Um, I was homeless for about a month. And so there is that process. And we still have, sometimes different styles, different philosophies, different cultures. She's Spanish, I'm American. The time is seen differently. Um, and anyone who's going through like, every time they come here from their fathers or from their mothers, they are, disrespectful. Okay. I can only control what I can control. I can't control what their mother does. I can try to understand her. I can, help her see my perspective if I think I'm right. Sometimes it's just ego and I don't think I'm right. I just want it done my way. But open communication. If we have a mind of, you see, one of the things I teach I use a story arc, the hero's journey story arc. And in most stories that we know, there are four main characters. And I learned this from an entrepreneur called Donald Miller. He's a business coach, and he uses this for businesses. But I thought it was beautiful, and I've used it for my parenting. There are four main characters of a story. There's a hero, which is the character that wants something, and they go through that journey and go through a change as a result of all their challenges. There's a guide who helps the hero along the way. There's a villain who has experienced some sort of pain or trauma in their life, and they want to inflict pain on others. And there's a victim, and the victim just needs saving. They need someone to come and save the day. And in any particular episode of our lives, we are playing one of those four roles. And things like, why do you always come back from your father's with this way? How many times do I have to tell him? How many times do I have to tell you, when you come here, you don't talk to me that way? Or why does this always happen? When are things going to, that's victim speak. If I'm in pain and I'm using the kids to manipulate the other person and to cause the other parent pain, and I'm causing the kids pain, I'm a villain. When I'm with the kids, I'm not a hero. Of course, parents want to be, kids want to see their parents as heroes, but that's not my responsibility is not to be a hero to them. I'm a hero of my own story. I'm a guide to them. So if we are become more aware of, this has helped me so much in so many ways in my life and parenting journey, that if I can assess who I'm being in a specific interaction, I can better control my decisions to be more of a hero, no, more of a guide to them, or a hero on my own journey, but a guide to my kids, and make less decisions as a villain or victim. And so if you have two different parenting philosophies from your partner, welcome to the world. That's everybody. You're not special. And sorry, that's the hard truth. You're not special. Everybody has that. I don't have an easy ride because I'm separated and I have a good co-parenting relationship. We still have disagreements on things, but going back to what I said in the beginning, I can only control what I can control.
I like that, because at the end of the day, the kids are gonna grow up anyway, and then soon choose to decide what sort of path and direction they want to sort of take. But Jess, you've ridden bulls in the rodeo. You've taken a punch or two with King Jong Un in his prison cell there. I think that was the actual thing that you went to go and do in South Korea there, and that's some really serious cowboy cred. I mean, how can you not wrangle kids? I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Now that you mention it, by the way, I love the transition. We were getting kind of heavy, so let's talk about bulls and how bulls are like kids. Because at the end of the day, it's all about me. A lot of people see, oh, riding bulls, like you have to be really strong. No, most bull riders are actually quite small. Maybe 140 pounds, something like that. It's not strength because a bull is, 2,000 pounds, 1,600 pounds. Like you're not going to overpower a bull. I don't care how strong you are. So it's all about balance, and it's in controlling myself. It's in getting myself back to the center of the bull, which is a lot like parenting, because the more control, the more you think you're going to power the bull and you're going to hold on because you're strong, you're going to fall off and get hurt. If you try to take your kids and force control, force power, my way or the highway, my house, my rules, you can have that. But the future kids and your kids' kids, what kind of relationship are you building there? What kind of foundation? You're going to fall off and it's going to get hurt. And you're going to end up like the song Cats in the Cradle, where when you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. And we don't want that as parents. So for the sake of your future relationship with your kids, get back to center. Get back to center. Flow more than force. And it's all about how I control myself. It comes back to that, how I can control myself.
Absolutely. I quite like that because if you're on center, the bull can do whatever it's doing. You are just focused on what you can do at that particular time. And it now makes a lot of sense because I thought what you guys were doing was literally just tying it up and then making sure that, it doesn't move. But the stiffer you are, when something is brittle, you actually break
Yeah.
things when they're flexible, they are actually much more durable. Like they do that with bridges. They leave that dangling sort of feature on there. So let's maybe talk about your venture now. The parent, it's a parent leader, right? Let us know what it is first of all, and actually what inspired you to create this platform, and what can parents expect to gain from it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, parent leadership, because a lot of the times they do want to get control of their house, right? Like we said, like my way or the highway, my house, my rules. You know, I'm the alpha, male or female, whatever. Um, and I've just seen this with parenting and a lot with teaching. It came from my teaching background. You try to take a class of, 12, 15, 20 kids, whatever, even 4 kids, and you try to force control and it just doesn't happen because they're people, right? But if we take leadership principles like John Maxwell, I love John Maxwell stuff. Um, and Jocko Willing, right? Like he is an alpha male, but he listens to those he leads. He leads by example. He leads from the front. He listens. I said that before, but it bears repeating. He listens. Listen more than we speak. It's things that we tell our kids. You have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. Well, guess what, parent? You have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. And if we listen more and step back and take a perspective shift and look at the entire situation. Jocko Willink has an example of this from battle. And you step back and you're not looking at the target directly, and you're not looking at your problem directly, but you take a step back and and see more options and more possibilities. That's leadership, seeing the avenues, being solution minded. What do I want? And it comes back to that, like, what do I want? A lot of times we're stuck in reactive mode. What do I want? What solution do I want? What outcome do I want in this situation? And then I combine, so I take leadership and then story principles like those characters, like the story arc, like seeing allies and challenges and enemies and facing and fronting all of those. And I combine those. So I take leadership. How can I listen to this? My son doesn't want to do his homework. What do I want? I want him to do his homework. Why do I want that? Because like this specific writing example is so important, make or break? No. But I want him to like look at the thing under the thing. As a leader, look at the thing under the thing. Do I want, like, is this math problem, 8 + 5, is that a make or break situation? No. But his connection with learning, his connection with feeling accomplishment from doing this hard thing, this hard math problem, that's what I'm looking for. As a leader, that's my goal with this. So take a step back, look at the thing under the thing, what you want as a guide, and work towards that, guide towards that, rather than the quick fix. So combining, that's what apparent leadership is all about, taking leadership principles, story elements, combining those to make our own beautiful family culture on our terms, the ones that we want.
I like that. And you keep giving reference to Jocko. He talks about taking ownership, where so many people have relinquished ownership to either the government or childcare or grandparents, and they haven't actually stood in in the bullpen, so to speak, and wrestled a bull and stayed on center because it's too difficult, it's too emotionally taxing, and it triggers them and things of that nature. Now, while you were talking, I was actually thinking that your course, your platform here, Apparent Leader, somehow sounds like a rite of passage. Now, hear me out. When you went to Spain, you would have probably tried to do the bull run or the bull fight that they do over there as well, considering bulls are your thing. And Korea presented yet another sort of break in the pattern in your normal day-to-day routine, which literally put you in a position where you had to fend for yourself and take ownership of your own survival and somehow escape. Now, in my culture, we have what's called a coming of age or rite of passage, where at about 13 or 16, for both boys and girls, you're sort of called in by the village elders. And then they proverbially tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Jess, it's your turn to lead now. And you're given all the tools, the systems, the recipes of how to actually go and lead your family and become that, unit that is now ready to start one. Now, putting it back to the first world, you would notice that everybody just grows up, kindergarten, primary school, high school, university, falls in love with the high school sweetheart, gets married, 2 kids, gets a promotion at work, maybe gets a disease, and then dies. And if you're watching that on Netflix, it's 35 minutes plus commercials. All right. And Netflix doesn't have commercials, but Hollywood. All right. So people just now grow in that sort of parallel line without having had that sort of pattern break, which brings them in to actually start taking full ownership. And I'm seeing that Apparent Leader is the platform which does that for the parents. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's awesome. And what is that like? What culture was that?
I'm African from the south, so that's the Shona tribe. Sort of like just put it as Swahili, which makes it easy for people to understand.
That's awesome. And that sort of rite of passage idea is something that we in the West and in American culture, we don't have, and we need something like that. but we don't have it. And in the story arc that I was talking about, in all stories, the guide, there's a call to adventure, right? So either someone dies or, in the Matrix, Neo literally gets a call from Morpheus and he says, duck down, when the Anderson is coming through the office, right? Go to the other cubicle. Like he literally has a call, but there's some sort of call to action or call to adventure, rather, that the hero goes through. And that's like the rite of passage idea. And
Mm.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful that you saw that. And we all have that. And that model, and it's only a matter of like, do we see it as a call to adventure, or are we stuck in victim mode and we see it as this is more things that don't go wrong, or that don't go right. And that idea of the perfect life. You go to high school, you meet your sweetheart, you go to college, and then you get a job and you have a picket fence and a house and a tire swing, whatever, like the American dream. That's one of these generational cycles that people fall victim to. And then when they start hitting real life, when happily ever after turns into daily life, you know, like, what's wrong with me? Why is everyone else happy and I'm not? When is my Cinderella story going to happen? And it's like, you're in your Cinderella story. What are you talking? Like, let's do it, and it's almost like that toxic dream life. You comparing with others, because you're not comparing with others, you're comparing of your own ideal of what others have. And that's crippling.
Mm.
So people get into their daily life and they want their Cinderella story to happen, but real life, they are in their Cinderella story. They're on the hero's journey, whatever place, whether they are experiencing their call to adventure, or whether they have gone through trials, or whether they're going through trials. My being in jail, these little intuition moments, right? We all have intuition. We all have this, spiritual part, whatever you want to call it. And the universe has this way of, giving whispers. Like mine was coming back to Spain. My original destination was to come here to Spain.
Mm.
And there were different moments I remember in Korea when I was, when am I going to go to Spain? But I was stuck in my comfort zone. I was in a comfortable life. I was making a decent living. I was teaching classes and enjoying it. And it was just like easy. It was
Mm.
comfortable.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I came back to visit Spain and it's like, when am I going to do this? I never really made a decision. A few unfortunate decisions. Mine was marijuana. Like it was just marijuana. Like, and then I got sent to jail for 3 months. And then I got deported. And that's what the universe will like give you little whispers. If we ignore it, it'll be like, hey, until eventually we might just get a slap across the face. And
Mm.
we can take that slap across the face as punishment and knock us down and say, why me, and turn into victim mode, or, get up and use it as a call to adventure. And that's what I do. That's what like you said, I'm a glutton for punishment. So I've been, using those as call to adventures my whole life.
Absolutely. It's a good thing you listened and took heed to that and look at where you are, because now, I obviously believe whatever you're going through in life, you should literally be paying attention, because one day you would have a good story to tell on the Online Prosperity Show. Now, how can people get a hold of you and stay updated on your latest adventures and insights?
Yeah, you could follow me, come join me, send a friend request on Facebook, Jesse J. Sweed, and you can get this, get to what the apparent leadership. It's actually, I use eaglemethod.newsendler.com, and you can just type in Google apparent leadership. I try to get to the top of there because there is no apparent leadership. And so and get some free resources. So one thing I'm doing, I am offering this PDF where it just gives these affirmations and these sentence patterns that we can start using, like that's a win. And losses can always be turned into wins. Or what are you grateful for? These sentence patterns that I'm building a family culture. Culture is built on language, right? So it's how we can use our language to empower our family culture. So I just give a list of affirmation sentence patterns, but also I do live coaching every Monday, and that's completely free to join. And you can either even join me on my email list. Once you get that PDF, you're on my email list, and I send invitations to join the free coaching every Monday, free parent coaching to teach a lesson, to help in a specific situation, whatever. And I also do that on YouTube as well, Jesse Sweed.
Absolutely. I'll make sure all those links are in the show notes below. Just to make sure that people follow through with whatever channel that they find necessary. Now, this has been amazing. It's been a ride, a bull ride. And just getting to know you and everything else that you have done, and who you've become, I think there's been a lot of work. So many people just leave it at that, and just go on with their lives. But you've lived, you've learned. Now you're sending the elevator down, teaching other people how to be, do, and have a happier relationship with their kids now, or their spouses. Now, if you could maybe teleport back in time and maybe give yourself some just one piece of advice, your younger self, especially the time when you were 25 and you saw your friend doing what they were doing, and you really got inspired, because I think that was your guide, and that now became your call to action. Whatever then happened was now just part of the story. What would it be and why?
I would just say enjoy the ride. That's all. I like, yeah, I've been asked that. I've thought about that question. I would just say enjoy the ride. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't give myself any advice per se, because I couldn't give myself any better advice than what I've heard from like great teachers, in podcasts. And besides, I was so stubborn, I wouldn't listen anyway. So that you got to take your lashings. You got to go through the fire, but as you're going, enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough, Jesse. I mean, you took us from bull riding to Korean jails and martial arts, and now you're in Spain, chasing bulls, or they're chasing you, and wrangling with kids and everything else in between. I think your life story and your experience have so much value for those people that would like to embark on the journey, so they don't feel burnt out, overwhelmed, and have that parental guilt that every one of us is going through. So thank you so much, man, for the time that we've just spent together on the show.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, and it was really fun.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching, whoa, wasn't that just an absolute treat? I don't know about you, but I'm actually feeling inspired and ready to tackle any bull. Give me any bull. Now I know you just got to stay center, bri. I'm going to go and find a bar in Melbourne that's got a mechanical bull. And now I know how to not be thrown away. But I still have kids that won't even eat breakfast. So I think that's the bull I'm going to be riding. And that's now a parenting challenge from me. And if anything, if you found this episode as inspiring as I did, why don't you watch it again? Because there's so many tidbits that you might have missed out on, and other things that might then pop up now that you know what you know from Jesse. And don't forget to check out Jesse's amazing work at A Parent Leader, which I think we've christened to be somewhat of a rite of passage for those that are looking to no longer feel burnt out, overwhelmed, and tired of the guilt of being a busy parent. And I think there's a free lesson, like you said, Jess, where people can actually grab so they can actually start managing themselves so that they too can be doing have a happy relationship with their kids. And hey, if you want more insightful conversations like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Definitely. We're always cooking up good episodes. Not every one of them involves bulls and jails, but this one here gave us a treat. Until next time, stay clear of Korean jails and do not smoke marijuana if you are near King Jong-un. Stay prosperous, keep shining. Bye for now.